Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Terry Fletcher. So I thought I would chime in. I know that Joe and Brian have already kind of given you a longer recap of our first preseason game, but I wanted to chime in myself because actually one of the things that is kind of funny being from Southern California is that we can't get the local games, so you have to be very creative about getting it. And I pay for that Gameday pass, the NFL Game Pass, and so I can get it on my iPad or my phone, but we found a little trick as well. If you have the Gameday app and you go through your Xbox, which we have, which is kind of a funny story why we even have it, then you can also sign in, and it's cool because Game Pass only lets you have it on one iPad at a time or one phone at a time. So two people can't sign in, but when you have it on Xbox and also on iPad, both of us got to watch it. So that was kind of a cool thing. Got to, actually sign into both. I don't know if they know that, but hopefully I'm not divulging any secrets there. Yeah, I got an Xbox a couple of years ago. I actually was pouting after Christmas one year because I really didn't get what I wanted. I totally went 12-year-old kid. And I was like, and I hinted and hinted and hinted, and I was like, I just want an Xbox. I wanted to play Madden and just figure out how that works. So then post-Christmas, I think this was 3 years ago, my husband's dad, so my father-in-law, he gave us some money, and my husband's like, okay, why don't we get you your Xbox? I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, that's what you wanted. You didn't get it, and now you're bummed. Let's just get it. I'm like, okay. So we spent a couple $100s to get it, and I've used it once. Yes, I played, twice. Once to learn how to play Madden, and then once to figure out how to make it not continue to go through the tutorial. And I'm telling you, I'm just not a video game person. I wanted something with I wanted to blow up something. I wanted like guns and shooting and that kind of stuff. And I just got this funny look from my husband going, you want what? I'm just like, I just think that would be fun. So anyway, I do have it so I could see the game. And so it was good. So I was able to, take a lot of good tips from it, I shouldn't say tips, but good information from it, and see what we're looking at. Now, first of all, and I'm calling this the WTF version of preseason, we've had a full week of football. So if you go back to the Hall of Fame game and just say, okay, that started it. And then this, we had 9 or 12 games yesterday, which would have been Thursday. And so if you're hearing this at a different time, I don't know when it's going to be dropped for Joe, but this is coming right after the 9th. So, right after that game. But what was interesting is that immediately it's talk about people just quick to, just say, okay, teams are trash and they're terrible, or quick to say, oh, let's start buying our Super Bowl tickets now. And so, we have a segment, as you know, during the regular season. It's called WTF, and I do it every week. And it's really about the happenings all over the league. I do focus because we're still City Underground on Steelers, but then I tell you what's going on, or at least, see the things that I found throughout the league. And, preseason is no different. WTF, you can say whatever you want that acronym to mean. But to me, it's what the football. I mean, what the heck, people? You just have to kind of embrace it and just say, okay, so this is a job interview. Starters usually don't start, but I'm going to show you some of the exceptions to those rules. They don't start in Pittsburgh. Let's just put it that way. And so some do on the defensive side, some do on the offensive side, but the stars typically don't. And, it's interesting because when we see what happens around the league to the injuries, not just from training camp, but in preseason. I mean, the Redskins lost 2 players to ACLs, and that's the first WTF. It's just like, oh, shoot. And one was actually Juice, Geis, I guess, Guice, but he was one that I actually really liked as a running back, and he's out for the season. So it's unfortunate that we have, that kind of thing going on when they get injured. But we think about that, and we think about Le'Veon Bell, who's holding out for money, but honestly, if he's not going to be football ready. He's going to be hopefully in shape, and he's doing his, his workouts and making sure that he is at least fit to come back. But we know he's going to have some rust on him. He has not been involved in football since last season. And it doesn't matter how much you work out, what you do, you have to be football ready. And it'll take him a couple of games or so to get that way. So, but you secretly are like, well, I'm not so upset that he's not here. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So looking at the game, we just want to kind of see what's going on there. But first, Steel City Underground podcast presented by Gameday Tailgate Experience. Elevate your tailgate when the Steelers travel to Jacksonville November 18th to take on the Jaguars. So that's a new sponsor for us. We appreciate them. So in the Pitt game, first of all, the second half was a little bit of a snore fest. I will not lie to you just right off the bat. But I just was excited to have it. And I know that a lot of people have their little nuances, their superstitions. They put on this jersey, that jersey, and all of that. But what I do is basically when football starts and I know there's a Steelers game on, I'm a workaholic. I work probably 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. I work for myself, self-employed businesswoman. So when I have a breather, when I actually can take the time to stop what I'm doing, if I'm auditing or I'm a speaker, anything I'm doing, educating, if I could just put it aside and watch a football game, I'm excited. That's my mind vacation. That's where I can just focus on something that isn't work. And that's what I got to do, even though it's preseason. But the second half, I was like, really? So let's just put it in perspective what preseason is. And that's probably the biggest WTF of all. First of all, we did not see, we played the Super Bowl champs. So we were going against Philadelphia, and we were in Philadelphia. Now, one of the other things you should know that regardless if I'm getting NFL Game Pass or Game Day or whatever it is, you're not getting the Pittsburgh feed. So we got Mike Mayock and his counterpart, I think it was Jim Lance, and they were in Philly, and it was their feed. Everything was Philly. Even when they did a replay, you saw the Green Eagle and everything like that. So the perspective about how great that team was what I had to listen to painfully. But luckily with Mayock, he's pretty good on both sides. And I know those of you that are in Pittsburgh got to hear Charlie Batch, so lucky you. But the one thing, first of all, is we did not get Carson Wentz, of course. He's going to be coming off a big injury, and it'll be interesting to see when he does his debut, when we see him. Nick Foles, the Super Bowl MVP and backup quarterback extraordinaire, we did not see him. So when they put in their third string quarterback, we did not see Ben, of course. Ben never plays in the first game. I mean, Tomlin would be silly to play our stars in the first game. We may see them a little bit in the third game action. Just look at traditionally what they do just to get them some work. But so it was our backups, and then it was against their starting third string quarterback. That sounds funny, starting third string, and their fourth string. So you see basically what they've got behind Wentz and Foles, and you're kind of like, wow, Philly's okay right there. And then you look at what we have, and we've got a pretty packed quarterback room. And of course, all the Landry Jones haters were out in full force, and they're just like, oh, he sucks. I'm like, okay, well, you may think he sucks, but he's in his, fifth year now in Pittsburgh. And he was 4 for 4 for 83 yards and a touchdown, and he had a perfect quarterback rating. Now, again, it's preseason, and they're going against the non-starters in Philly. There was a few starters, but for the most part, it was basically a lot of backups because preseason is a job interview. That's what people are out there for. They're there for a job interview for other teams, hoping that they can find somebody that'll see what they do on the field and go, hey, we want them, or we're seeing who we can keep on our practice squad that would be practice squad eligible. So that's kind of what you do in games like this. But Landry was in for, a couple of series, and he held his own. So in the first quarter was kind of interesting. Both teams had trouble in the first quarter getting off the field on third down. So to me, that's a big WTF. If you learned anything from last game that we played, which was the playoff game against Jacksonville, we have to get off the field. on third down. And we have to make sure that we're converting at third down is really what I'm talking about here. But the first quarter was basically, and I'm just putting in there, it was all both teams, punt, interception, punt, touchdown, Pitt, punt. And, the punting was back and forth on both Philly and Pittsburgh, but that was basically it. And both teams struggled on third down. Second quarter, much more exciting. Oh, and actually the TD from Landry to Juju was a 71-yard ball. What I really like seeing from Juju, because he just does his own thing, is that he acted like, or I should say he acted like himself, but he basically did what we wanted Martavis to do, and that's fight for the ball. These are strong guys. They need to fight for that ball. And he went up and fought for it and ran it in for a touchdown. But what was interesting, I don't know if you caught the glimpse of the side after Juju made the touchdown. He went back to the sideline to get congratulated by the guys, and our new coach, Randy Fichtner, one of our OC guys in there, quarterbacks coach, he basically, offensive coordinator, he got in Juju's face. And so that was interesting. I was like, did he run the wrong route? What did he do? So there was no congratulations for the touchdown at all from him, only from players. So I would have loved to have been a fly on that proverbial wall, just sitting there wondering what that was about. So even though it was a great touchdown, was it basically, okay, but you didn't do this, I don't care how it turned out, you need to do what you're told. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any feedback from that or what happened there. And then in the second quarter, it was much more exciting. We traded interceptions. They had one, and the very next play, when we got it back, we gave it right back to them. Both teams had a touchdown, 2 touchdowns actually, and then both teams attempted their 2-point conversions. And the 2-point conversions that, for Eagles side, that actually kind of bugged me because it said that the Steelers center was covering up. Or one of the linemen was covering up the center, and I don't like that penalty. And you could see the look on Mike Tomlin's face. I don't think he liked it either. And then in the second half, and I'll just kind of in a nutshell, the Eagles had a fumble, 4 punts, and turned it over on downs. And I'm sure their coach was like, WTF on that. And then Pittsburgh just was a field goal machine, 3 field goals, and then we had a punt it a couple times. We did win the game, 34-14, but you guys, wins don't mean anything in preseason. Remember the year that, who was it? Was it the Cowboys or one of the Raiders maybe? They went, 4-0 and then they didn't win a game. So you have to really put it in perspective of what people are doing out there. It's great to win. I love wins, and it always makes you feel good going back. I'm sure that going back into the locker room for them, but it definitely doesn't mean anything in preseason. You don't get an award for it. It doesn't help you in your standings going to the Super Bowl. It's basically just like, you won the game. You scored better than they did. But what's interesting when we look at what the first game brought us, I think the problem I have with it, and maybe you're going to say, okay, that's Terry's WTF thing, but this is what bothers me, is that I was looking at James Conner and I was looking at Landry, and even though Landry had a decent, set of series, his peripheral vision when it comes to the pass rush isn't there. And it constantly hasn't been there. I mean, he's very mechanical. He just goes in and does the plays. He doesn't audible. He isn't his own. He's not Ben. Let's face it. Once you get from Ben, the quality of quarterback and the Steelers just drops like off a cliff. But, he's a respectable, backup. He's no Nick Foles, in my opinion, but he knows the system. But it's interesting because it's like he doesn't see what's coming at him till it's too late. I noticed that with James Conner. I think he's in fantastic athletic shape, but I didn't see with him that he was struggling a little bit with the pass rush. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. We have a wide receiver huge room right now. I mean, we've got AB, we've got Juju. They just re-signed Eli Rogers. We've got Darius Hayward-Bay, and then we've got a bunch of people that basically are there to see if they can make the roster. So Justin Thomas still there. We've got James Washington. We've got, I think it's Quadre Henderson. We've got Justin Hunter. Don't forget about him. Justin's interesting because I think he might have gotten hurt. I think he might have gotten hurt. But the one shining person for me was, Damone Patterson. Did you see that guy? I mean, I personally loved his backflip. Joe's going to call me out on that. But it was a Dobbs to, Patterson in the end zone. It was a decent throw, but better catch, and just making sure that he got 2 body parts down before he got out of bounds. I love the backflip, but I think his inspiration had to be his 83 jersey from Heath Miller. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of inspiring to see that. So I really liked that. So, you know, it was interesting. I think it was going to be, we're going to see what's going to happen, but, everybody was kind of losing their mind a little bit on the defensive side. But remember, again, we didn't have TJ Watt starting. We didn't have Cam Hayward in there. Bud Dupree wasn't in there. So people, calm down. We didn't have people in there that you would normally see on a starting game. So, you know, from what we saw, it looked good. But then going around the league, so here's some fun, you know, WTFs. And then I'm going to save the big one. I'm going to circle around back to the Steelers, which is just so silly what happened when I woke up this morning. So Fletcher Cox was a starter in Philly, and I think he basically clocked Dobbs. He didn't know what hit him. So he really just ran right over DeCastro. So, and I think that, and actually one of the other rookies did as well. And so he's going to have to be mindful. It's like he didn't even come to play. But I was surprised to see that vet in starting, but not as surprised as seeing Cincinnati's Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton started. So just like Dak Prescott did and Andrew Luck did, but they started for other reasons when it comes to injuries. And Dak's still, you know, he's coming into his 3rd year, so that's a little bit different. But Andy Dalton started and he threw a pick 6. So there you go. So it's just interesting seeing that kind of thing happen. But when on the Colts, I saw a little bit of the Colts game on replay, and a lot of short passes from Andrew Luck. And to me, the WTF moment is, will he be too sore to keep going? I mean, this guy he's big and strong, but the injury he suffered is really going to be hard to come back from. I personally didn't see him coming back. So the fact that he's even playing, I'm actually kind of surprised. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, AFC, something to keep an eye on. They have a weaker division, but the WTF for me is just basically, how do you even, I don't know, how do you even not have a quality? I know they have Brissett, but you're going to have somebody else back there, because it'll be really surprising to me how far he goes into the season. But the Colts, I just don't understand what they're trying to do there. So then the Dak lost to the 49ers. I should say Dallas lost to the 49ers. You know, it's funny. I mentioned it doesn't matter about wins and losses. I get a warm position in my heart there when Dallas loses. I can't help myself as a Steelers fan, and seeing all of the hate that comes from some of the Dallas players. I'm okay with that. It's just interesting when you see that. I like Dak Prescott though, but as far as the team itself, the 49ers did. We didn't get to see Garoppolo, the one that made the top 100 players after only being in 5 games, which is just silly. But okay, so we'll get to see hopefully what he's going to do at some point. I just think he's cute. I mean, maybe he's a decent player. He's obviously not a backup anymore. They think he's going to be their future for sure. And I think they saw flashes last year, but he's just really cute. He's actually so cute. He's pretty. I don't know. Have you actually looked at this guy? So shout out to the women out there. Take a look at him. I mean, he is really cute. And I'm in California, not Northern California. I'm in Southern California. And so it's hard not to go, yeah, no, I'm still a Steeler fan. I'm just saying, it just, when you look at that, it's just kind of cool to look at him. You just want to look at him. And so before I continue with our WTF segment, Steelers Nation Unite. So before the Pittsburgh Steelers' big Sunday night football rematch against Jacksonville Jaguar kicks off November 18th, join the SCU and other Steeler fans traveling to Florida at Gameday. Tailgate experience, gigantic tailgate party. Leave the grills and tables at home. All you need is your terrible towel, as the 5-hour tailgate party begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The 5-hour pregame tailgate includes unlimited food and 5-hour open bar. There'll be TVs to watch pregame football coverage, live music and entertainment, family-friendly tailgating games, amenities. They'll also be auctioning off Jaguars and Steelers memorabilia that you could take home. Several celebrities, including legends from both teams, will make a guest appearance as well. So it's the perfect venue to gear up before watching the Steelers avenge their early playoff exit this past fall. So this is something that you really want to participate in. I know our fearless leader, Joe Kuzma, will be there. So I know he's very excited to be a part of that. So moving on to more of what's happening around the league in our first week. The Browns. Okay, so we're going to stay in the AFC. So talked about Cincy. I'm not going to mention what happened with the Ravens because, okay, they won. Okay, I'm going to move on now. That was it. So they played the Rams, and I was watching some of the game. I was like, okay, where I'm at, I'm 20 minutes from Rams practice, and they look awesome. The Rams players that I saw at practice were not in the game. So it's just like, okay, preseason, good for, Baltimore. I hope they go 8-8 this year. But for Browns fans, so the starter has been named. Hugh Jackson said it's Tyrod Taylor. This is where I was really upset because what game was on NFL Network as the starting game? The Browns game playing the Giants. And I'm like, why are they on NFL Network? And people are like, oh, Baker Mayfield, they want to see, the number one pick. And I was just like, oh, okay. And okay, well, okay. I mean, he did play. Tyrod Taylor started. He was 5 for 5 with 99 yards and a touchdown. And so, you have to sit there and say to other people, WTF, folks, he's starting. Mayfield's going to be, behind him. He did okay. He came out in the second half, 11 for 20, 12 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did fine. I mean, but again, he was playing the second half against third and fourth string of the Giants. There was no Eli Manning, of course. And the Browns won their game, and all of a sudden you just see them start talking about the Super Bowl. I was laughing my head off. I'm just like, are you guys kidding? You've won one game in the last 32 games. Can you just calm yourself down? WTF, Browns fans. We are happy for you that it looks like you may have found a quarterback that may stay a while. I mean, let's hope that they don't, that they keep your coach another year. So it's just, baby steps. Let's not get too crazy about things. But it just cracks me up when they do that. I feel bad for Browns fans. But, Cleveland, what are you going to do? So that was a funny thing I saw as I woke up this morning. I think one of the things that kind of made my head explode a little bit is I don't like to check in on the Patriots. It makes me, I don't know. Ever since the Jesse caught it game, and yes, he did catch it. I don't care what anybody says. He caught it. And I'm never going to change my mind on that. I've watched that probably 300 times. It's on my Twitter feed. I'm never, ever, it's my hashtag that I put almost with everything. But it was interesting. I saw Jeremy Hill, former Bengal running back, who we remember him. He's the one that fumbled on the game where AB got hit by Burfict and was taken out of the game. And Ben came in after that shoulder issue and that we thought he was getting pulled out. And that took us to the second playoff game. And so, that's who that is. And he went to the Patriots. And just to see him in a Patriots uniform, to me, the Bengals, because they have no discipline, they just have no discipline. And they're keeping the coach that doesn't have, that can't discipline their players. It's like Disneyland meets Army boot camp. I mean, you hear that the Patriots, no celebrations and there's no fun. And it's just basically you go in, you do your job, you go home. I mean, you're paid a lot of money as a professional athlete, but it's got to be a little fun, right? Anyway, you could just see in his post interview, he just seems scared, but you know what? Good for him. So here is the last WTF of the week, and this one. So I get this. My brother is a Patriots fan. Yes, I don't know how we exist in the same universe. But he decides to tag me and my husband, who obviously you guys know I'm a huge Steelers fan. I write for them. I podcast with Joe, all that kind of stuff. And I just love Steeler football. It doesn't matter what it is. And my husband, he is like worse than I am. And I mean, he's 2 clicks away from painting his face. And so to tag both of us on Twitter with the big news of the day was apparently in the Steelers game, there was a defective ball. And people were trying to make it Deflategate 2. But luckily, the NFL came out with a statement and said it was just defective. I think one of our quarterbacks ended up throwing it. So we have 4 now. So we're trying to figure out who's going to get number 2 and 3. But I think it was Mason Rudolph that threw it. And somebody else called it a marshmallow ball. So I guess it was defective. And so they basically they're looking into it. It's not an investigation. So let's just quash that rumor right away and just say, okay, let's move on. But that was basically slow news day. So that's what they're looking at there. So just so you know, that's really what you're seeing as far as how that goes. So we are kind of done with my segment today, and I really appreciate everybody listening in. I just wanted to talk football. I was so excited. I love seeing the preseason game. Right now, it's all baseball sometimes in my house, and yes, we're Pirates fans, so we're hoping that they can win a few more games, but I'm just so happy football's back. I've got my fantasy football ready to go. I'm in 2 different leagues. I'm a commissioner of one. And this year I had all kinds of people wanting to get in. I've got 12 on one and 14 on another as far as teams. So I'm pretty excited about that. So football is back, folks. We don't have any more Thursdays or Sundays without football in a really long time. And so we wanted to end with SEU listeners can also save 20% off tickets to that Jaguars and Steelers game when you use the promo code or to the Tailgate service, a promo code Steel City during the checkout. And you go to steelcityunderground.com/Jaguars Tailgate for more details. And so you want to make sure that you check that out, to go to the website at steelcityunderground.com. I'm sure it'll be a great time, great weather, and just, fun for the whole family. So check it out. So everybody, make it a great day, and I'm hoping to see you next week on WTF. I'm excited to get these segments back and see what's going on at the Steelers football and around the league. Make it a great day.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.